possible way, going and doing a civilized, a very good warm up, a disciplined warm up, putting in your best effort, following the instructions from your coach and playing is all a part, and then doing a good warm up, recovery, and then going and eating and resting well, and thinking about the sport of improving every day is all a part of being a professional tennis player. All of you, many of you, maybe most of the players who play and they compete, they are professional tennis players in some way. They are professional in some way. However, a professional tennis player or the part to becoming a professional would be for you to compete when you play the men or the women. There are two stepping stones in tennis. Okay, the two stepping stones. The first stepping stone is called the Junior ITF circuit, the Junior Under 18 International Tennis Federation tournaments, where you see, the last person to have won a junior Grand Slam is Sumit Nagal. Before that, it was Yuki Bhambre. Where they're used, and they have then, the players go on to maximize their men's or women career. Players like Alexander Zverev, have Grigor Dimitrov, you name them, you name every player, they have played in the top 10 level. But maybe some guys like Nadal or, Djokovic. But Federer himself was a very good junior professional as well. You guys can hear me, right, everyone?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So most of these guys, they've used the first stepping stone to undertake most of these aspects. So they have kept a goal of doing well at the junior ITF level, okay, and then started focusing on the aspects that I've written. And then when they get to the professional level, okay, because these aspects already exist in them, they have then trained their aspects better. They've become better technically, they've become better tactically. Sorry, I made a spelling mistake there. They've become better tactically. They have improved their physical fitness. But even when they compete at the junior ITF level, they still have these aspects which they have worked on. Okay. Now, a pro tennis player is the one who holds the professional tennis ranking, either in the men, in the ATP or the WTA. For that, you need to play the $15,000 tournament and higher. I think many of you, I think that's not the stage you are at, as far as I know. I think all of you here are below 18 years of age. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's why I've centered my focus around the ITF. Now let's go to the first point. Okay, aspects that make a successful tennis player, tennis player successful. The tennis specific aspects, they are technical and tactical. Now see, you have learned your forehand and backhand right from day one when you entered the basic level. The moment you enter a tennis court, you go to your first academy, your forehand backhand is being done. So and you start playing points. So the moment you learn your forehand backhand, your serve, you are doing your technical. You are learning the technical aspect. And the moment you are playing points, you are learning the tactical aspect. So you're constant, and from the basic you move to the intermediate. You started doing more lessons, maybe privately, or started entering an advanced group. So you have constant development and upgradation. Okay, as players, you have got that upgradation. So you have reached the advanced level, and suddenly you are winning tournaments. But in tennis, there's a lot of steps to climb. Okay, the highest step is being a Grand Slam champion. The lowest step is probably winning a TS or a CS in the country in a junior level. So the moment you start winning a TS or a CS, or you're playing quarters of a TS or a CS, remember you have started being on a stepping stone. And from there on, every day you have to strive to improve yourself technically and tactically. What is technical? It is learning the strokes the best possible technical way with the minimal effort. So you can hit 1,000 balls without getting tired. Okay. With being fluent, knowing that you're contacting the ball in the right place, you're able to generate good power. What is tactical? Tactical is when you know which direction, or what is the strategy that you want to execute, a forehand cross court or a down the line. You want to give a drop shot, you want to give a lob when the player comes to the net. Okay, these are tactical examples. Okay. The next thing, the tennis specific, is physical fitness. Now, when you started playing at the basic level to at the advanced level, some of us don't even do the physical fitness. We start doing the actual physical fitness, tennis specific, and every day. Okay, only when we reach the advanced level. Now, that's why what happens is they say tennis is physical and mental, or any sport is physical and mental. Many a times that's because by the time we are 14 or 16 years of age, we have not worked on our physical fitness at all. Okay. And which is where you need to know some of the aspects of physical fitness are, we need to be an athlete before we can move fast on the tennis court. So you need to develop your endurance, your speed endurance, your strength, your basic strength, your basic core, and then you can get on to improving your speed, your agility, your flexibility, all these aspects. Now, as you get down to your tennis specific agility and your speed aspect, you also side by side need to constantly keep upgrading your endurance and your speed endurance and your strength. Because if having a particular strength is making you run 100 meters or a 50, let's say a 50 meters in 10 seconds and 100 meters in 20 seconds, you can get to running the 100 meters in less than 10 seconds. So there's a huge mountain to climb in terms of your physical fitness. Some of the examples I'll give you, if you see Nadal, he's also been a very good football player, and it was only after 12, 13 years of age that he chose to pursue tennis completely. If you see Usain Bolt, he's been a fantastic runner, okay, holder of multiple records, Olympic golds, but he's also a very good soccer player. I think he's played for a professional soccer team as well. Some of you must have noticed that. So these guys with their physical fitness, it doesn't help them in their sport, but it helps them be physically fit overall. So you need to develop your physical fitness constantly every day because fitness is a way of life. Okay. Now mental training. Everyone hears that and whenever you lose matches, you get drained mentally. Now that the problem with that is we do not understand the trends of what happens with our mental aspect. Okay. And I make sure that most of my players focus a lot on the mental and the physical aspect, because if those two are achieved, if they are good mentally, they are positive, they have high, good amount of self-esteem, they are self-confident, they are able to manage their anxiety, they're able to have good emotional control when they get angry, they definitely can think and execute tactics better. Okay. When it's 4-all, 30-all, when it's 4-5 in the first set, you have been 4-1 up and you go down 4-5, and then you are trying to serve to stay in the match. All these moments, and every moment in tennis, you get anxious. Before the match, you get anxious. The previous night of the match, you get anxious, you know, and suddenly you feel drained, you feel tired, you don't feel like eating. All these are because, somewhere your thought process is not synchronized. It's not as simple as what you need it to be. So you need to first understand the concepts, and then you can implement those mental skills, which is why you guys, many of the players today, I feel more, and this is my sincere suggestion to everyone, that actually working with a mental trainer stage wise, once a month, twice a month, and over 2 or 3 years, really helps kids who are 12, 13 years of age to become mentally ready by the time they're 16, 17 to compete. Okay. And to also battle the rigors of the sport, like maybe they can you guys need to travel a lot, you need to play at least 20 tournaments, you're staying away from home, you're missing your studies, you need to catch up on your education. All these aspects come into play. It's not just your tennis. So you need to manage your peers, your friends. You need to manage, some players have some, they don't like feedback from their parents. So, that puts too much pressure on them. Handling all these issues and many more, which are more related to tennis, all will need you to do a good amount of mental. Okay. Now, for me, I'm lucky because my wife, Gayatri Valtak, she was a former international badminton player. She runs a very prominent mental training company called Samiksha Sports Private Limited. And her partner Janki, she's living in Bombay itself, and they've been training the top level athletes for the last 10 years, across all sports. So definitely for me, that's an advantage because my players get access to that on an immediate basis. Okay, go to number 4. Match play and tournament travel. You need to know which is the right tournament to choose and play the right tournament. Because playing the right tournaments will help you grow your ranking. Playing the right tournaments will help you, prepare for the better tournaments where there are more points. Playing the right tournaments helps you, compete with the right people. It helps you make goals, achieve your goals. It also helps you gain valuable experience of playing different players. Okay. Now, one of the most important aspects is players learn from players. When you play a better player and you lose to the player, you want to defeat that player the next time. So, you know, most of the top tennis players are very, very confident of what surface they like to play on. Nadal says his best, he's played on clay. Federer will say fast, hard court. Djokovic will grind out the opponent on faster or slower, but hard court. He's an all surface player. Andy Murray also, he likes certain surfaces. Everybody. Aliciami, you say, Tsitsipas, they all have their favorites. Okay? But also match play, also tournament travel, it helps you in training yourself to travel, to catch 20 flights or 20 trains and get from one venue to the other without falling sick. And trust me, that is one of the most important and difficult aspects of a tennis player. When they leave home, they don't know when they're going to go back home. They may lose in the first round, second round, sometimes you lose first round. And you got to stay there all week because you have gone to Kolkata to play and the next tournament is in Guwahati. So it's not possible for every player to come back and then go. Okay, so choosing and playing the right tournaments includes all these aspects, not just the aspects of choosing and playing the tournament. Now, match analysis, knowing your strengths and your weaknesses. How good you analyze your practice is how good you'll analyze your match. So here, my focus to every one of you is, from all that we have spoken previously, the technical and tactical, physical fitness, mental training, everything, the match play, it all begins in practice. And you got to be a good thinker, a good analyst to know what your strengths are. If I was playing my match and my dad or my coach tells me that, no, your wide serve is actually very good against this player last time, you hit very good wide serve. It's a good feedback for me. But on that particular day or in that tournament or over the last 6 months when I haven't played that player, I played him, let's say, after 6 months before. If at that time my wide serve was better, but now my tee serve is better because I like serving tee because I like going, harder with using the ball once the ball comes on my forehand, then I need to use that strategy more rather than just the strategy that is given, which is why any professional tennis player is fantastic at analyzing their matches. Many of these guys, when I talk about not just the Nadals and the Federers, even the lower players who are ranked in the 100, 200s, the Nagals and the Ram Kumars and everyone, they will look at their recording and they are going to say, okay, this is what I should have done better. After the match, they'll watch their match for 30 minutes and they'll be like, yeah, these were my strengths and these were my weaknesses. This is what I need to do. This is how I can neutralize. How was the opponent exploiting me? If I win a match 6-4, 6-4, 7-6, 7-6, how is it that, where was the aspect whether my opponent was catching me or I was not able to, finish the match off quicker? So match analysis is really, really important. Now, routines. What are routines? Routines are what you do every day. You get up in the morning, you brush your teeth, you have a bath, you have breakfast, you go to school, you've made sure you have taken your bag and everything. You made sure your homework is done. A to Z. All these are routines. So for the school, we get into the routine. In the first and second standard, you will find many kids, they forget their books at home. The third standard, fourth standard. But as you grow older, your routines fall into place. The same way happens in tennis. The same thing happens when it comes to tennis. Initially, you will find it difficult to create routines. Okay, just 1 second, okay? Yeah, sorry. Initially, you will find it difficult to create routines, to know what your routines are, to know what routines suit you. My match is at 9 o'clock in the morning, but it's going to be a 2-hour delay, but because the matches have started at 7 o'clock. So, how can what do I eat? What time do I get up? When do I warm up? How do I warm up? Unless you write these things down and use these routines for yourself, you have no idea where and what and how, and you have no idea how you're going to perform in that match. And trust me, routines begin with practice. If your warm-up routine is 20 minutes and you do it religiously 6 days a week, 110%, when you go to the tournament, you're going to need those 20 minutes and you will actually warm up within those 20. You'll actually know how to pace yourself. If you are a good eater and you create a routine where As soon as you finish playing, in the first 20 minutes, you hydrate yourself after session and you actually grab a snack, a small snack. Then your routine will be after the match. Let's say you won a match and the referee says 45 minutes is your next match. You'll be able to eat within those first 10-20 minutes. Okay. If your routine is to sleep at 9 every day, no matter how much pressure, how much anxiety you have in a tournament, you'll sleep maximum by 9:30. Your system will actually remind you that I need these routines, I have these routines. And routines are personalized. You need to discuss with your coaches. All coaches, including me, give a certain thing which says, okay, these should be, this is how the routine should be. But over time, the players what creates the routine. Even 12, 14-year-old players, you guys need to be commanding enough to know and understand, okay, and to analyze what routine works for you, okay, and you need to follow it. Because if you want to be a professional tennis player, then it's not just the technical, tactical, the physical, the mental. It's not about just going to these places and making it happen. The match play tournament travel is out of your academy. The match analysis often happens out of your academy because you do it more when you go home, or more when you're in your hotel room, or more when you're traveling in the car after the match. Okay. The routines also happen out of the tennis court because 80% of your life, out of the 24 hours every day, you spend 80% of that at home or in the school or anything of that sort, sleeping or doing studies or whatever. Only 20-25% for most players will be used towards tennis. Okay, that is also include the 80% also includes your traveling to and so the tennis. Now, I'm going to get down to the questions after I finish. Huh? So after I finish, we'll get down to these questions. I mean, to whatever questions you guys have. Now, these are some general pointers. If you see a Federer, you see a Nadal, you see Del Potro, you see Tsitsipas, you see Monfils, Tsonga. What do you like about them? You like them as people. We all like them as they speak well. They always, there's so much positivity. Now all these things come the way they carry themselves, the way they talk, the way they smile, the way they say hello to everyone. When you see them on TV signing autographs, even after they have lost the match, most of us, after we have lost the match, we run straight to the car, or we run straight to someone who we know and we sit in one corner and we don't talk. But what do? They sign autograph after losing. Even though where they lose, there's a lot at stake and the whole world is watching them. Okay. So you need to develop your personality, okay, all your skills, your communication skills. What does a tennis player need? Analytical skills, communication skills. In future, you're going to travel alone. So you need to, know how your passport and your visa works, your tickets work. You need to be able to do your hotel bookings, your cab bookings, okay. And doing all these things, trust me, makes you self-reliant and it also develops your personality where you become independent, okay. Of course, your parents, your coaches are there to help you with every aspect and with everything that is required, but your personality is what you need to develop to perform well in the sport, okay. Because the more independent a person is, the more independence he has on the tennis court. He is independent on the court. He can think, she can think, she can play her best. Okay, that's how it works. Now watch and learn. Most of us, okay, watch matches which are at the top level. We all like watching semis and finals. But trust me, the best matches, or the level at which most players fight at, happens at the Masters 1000, the ATP 500, or the WTA 125, the WTA 250s. That's the level it happens at. You see many lower players upsetting the top players, especially at this level. Why does that happen? That's what you need to watch and learn. Even in the same tournament, when you go for a TS or CS, there'll be some players who are playing better than before. Okay, so you need to, or there are some players who are going out of form. You need to watch both. You need to watch and learn from others and learn the positives and understand the negatives, because that is what will make you a better player, a better analyst, a better understanding overall of the sport. Who has a weaker serve? Tomorrow I might play doubles with Veer or with Arya, and I might say, okay, Arya, I saw you playing last time. You have a good wide serve, man. It helps me know that he has a good wide serve. Okay. Or I might be playing with Sachi and I'll tell her, look, you're a left-handed player. I saw you playing. So, you have a good forehand cross court. So you take the, ad court. It can be anything. It can be absolutely anything. So you need to watch and learn. Now develop professional relations with the coaches. You see, whatever it is, somewhere in my experience also I've seen that sometimes players don't communicate enough with the coaches. So it needs to be a three-way. A parent, a PPC is what? Player, parent, coach. That's how it works. It can be a PPC, it can be CPP, coach, player, parent. It can be anyhow. You make the combination, but it's a triangle. Okay. So as players, as parents, as coaches, we all, you all, everyone needs to understand that communication is always three ways. Okay, and we need to develop professional relations with the coaches in the sense you need to take their guidance constantly in whatever you do. You were already working with very good coaches, Mayur, Aditya, and Dion is here, and all your team of coaches at ACTA are anyways guiding you guys very well. So you guys also need to make sure that you take constant advice and you listen to what your coaches have to say about your game. Now, listening to right instructions or feedback. Now, how do you listen to the right instructions or feedback? Many of us do not like negative feedback. We do not like, when, we want to practice the forehand today, but the coach is feeding too much on the backhand. We do not like when, the coach is doing a doubles drill and, we have been given a bad partner, we do not like someone saying you didn't move well today on the court, because we are not ready to accept many, many things, but you need to be able to, you need to be a good listener. Okay. And trust me, in my life, okay, like many of you guys here, I was also of the view that, my parents didn't know too much about the sport, but many times even the parents, because they're watching you every day, okay, and this watch and learn also applies to them because they're watching you guys, your kids, your parents watch you guys more than anyone else. So listening to the right instructions and getting the feedback from them also helps you, okay, in becoming a good listener. It's not that, you only need to, you don't need to, take any feedback from your parents. Now, role model. What is a role model? Okay, I'm playing tennis because I love playing tennis. But I'm playing tennis because I want to achieve something in the sport. I'm playing tennis because the guy who plays on court number 1 is India number 1 right now, or is India number 5, and I'm just starting my competitive uh, level. So depending on your own level, you need to have role models, and you need to learn the watch and learn, the listening, the personality development, all these, okay, and all your routines, your physical fitness, your mental training, all these you can observe in the role model that you have. The role model doesn't need to be only one; it can be 5. You can actually but you'll always have something that you look at. It's like a goal. This is the level I want to attain at. When you know that you also want to play in a certain way, you also want to understand if might want to do serve and volley, but I'll do serve and volley not because I'm confident. I do serve and volley because I've seen someone else do it and winning more points. So that can also be a role model. Like, we have seen Sampras, like when I was young, we had Sampras and Patrick Rafter who would rush to the net, but we had also had Agassi who would win a lot of matches on the baseline. So eventually in the 2000s, from 2001 to 2006, the so-called servant warriors faded away, and Agassi could still compete, even though he was 32, 34 years old. He could still compete with a Federer or a Nadal. He could, in one of the US Opens, 2005, I think, he ended up taking a set, and he was a breakup in the third set against Federer. I think it was a 2005 US Open, if I'm not wrong, the final. But anyway, Federer ended up winning that. So, but you need to have the role model as well. So yeah, so if I say what are these aspects that professional tennis players want to cover, or what are the aspects that professional tennis players have and they improvise on to make them successful, these are the aspects. These are majorly the aspects. Every successful tennis player will have good technique, they'll be very good tactically, they'll have good physical fitness, good mental abilities, they'll be very good travelers, they'll choose the right tournaments, they'll analyze their matches very well, they'll have very good routines. I don't know if you know this, but when Sampras was playing at a very high level, whenever he used to go Wimbledon, he used to book his apartment or his villa that he had 1 year in advance. So every year Sampras would stay in the same villa. So was the same with Agassi. And when Sampras was playing, in the pro level, he would stay in the last room or the second last room, and he would book all the rooms to his right side and all the rooms opposite him because he wanted to stay focused. So I mean, whether these are stories, not stories, whatever. I mean, you have these are routines which are extreme, but when players win 14 Grand Slams, they will have routines like this. Okay, like Djokovic, he doesn't like too much of gluten. He realized that gluten isn't good for him, and it's Djokovic, so he figured that out, not anyone else. Anyways, so this is what I wanted to share with you guys. So let's go around to the questions. Any of you guys have questions to ask me? You can unmute yourself. Just hang on. Let me.
So,
Yeah, who's asking?
so like, well, sir, like I had a question. Like due to lockdown,
You're not very clear. You're not very clear.
saying that due to this lockdown, our routines like we are not routines during this lockdown. So after this lockdown gets over, how do we get our routines back on track as quickly as we can?
Okay. Now, see, we did a session for our kids, and many of them, this was 1.5 months ago, and we stressed on the need that your routine need to continue. You need to now. You're in lockdown, right? You're in Mumbai, most of you, maybe all of you are in Mumbai. So when is tennis going to start? We don't know. Maybe it's going to take this entire month. So make a routine today. Say that even though there's no tennis, there's no school, I'm going to get up at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, blah, blah. I'm going to eat, I'm going to study, or I'm going to watch a movie, whatever. Give enough time. Let's see how much of priority you give to your tennis. So if you have priority for tennis, you can even watch matches. There are thousands of matches that you can watch. There are thousands of live videos that all these top players are doing, or these webinars that you can join in. Okay, where or you can read about tennis. You can read books on Kindle, or you can order books online. Okay, and read tennis books. So there are multiple things, and it's also see a very good time to reflect on yourself as to whether what are these things that you are not, or what were those things which you didn't improvise on, what you were weak on, and what is it that you can improve. Flexibility, every player has a problem with flexibility. So maybe doing yoga, okay, the asanas, and also doing yoga where you can improve your concentration, basic concentration, that can help you. Okay, doing some sort of, following a certain diet. Okay, Keval asked me that question, right? Who asked me that question?
Yes, okay, well.
So your mom is a nutritionist. So trying different kinds of diet that you can have. You can make a dietary plan for yourself, so that you're not putting on weight, or that you can get stronger. You can work on more functional training, more core based training. You can do more swings with your racket. So you create a routine, and let's see. For me, during lockdown, no one needs to sleep more than 9 hours. That's it. Whether you want to sleep 8 in the night and 1 in the afternoon, okay, and 9 hours after the sun sets, maybe 2 hours after the sun sets, you can sleep, and you need to get up at sunrise, or maybe 1 hour after sunrise. Okay, so 7:15 the sun sets. Right now 6 o'clock maybe the sun rises roughly. Long days. So you guys, watch whatever you want in the day. Do whatever you want in the day. Utilize the day like you normally would. Just because you do not have tennis and you are locked at home, it doesn't mean you go out of your schedule. And all players, every athlete, every human being, your parents, everybody is going through this thing right now. Okay, everybody at home, everybody in the neighbors, in the school, your friends, your fraternity, everybody is going through this. So there are no complaints. We all are in it together, right? That's what people are saying. We need to fight it together. I mean, we don't need to fight it, rather. I mean, the best thing is, I have not done a single session on COVID to any of my players. Because trust me, even if you are not playing tennis, you'd still be battling this. Okay? And thinking about when the tournaments are going to start and what is going to happen, there's no point of it. Just don't have that. Live life like, you're having the best time of your life. Live life like that. Okay, so create your routine. Next, anybody else? Ask me anything. It doesn't need to be this session. You can ask me anything. Doesn't matter. I'm okay to One second. People are asking me questions on the chat. Is it you? Right? Does gear really matter, Rudra Joshi? Gear, I presume gear as in you're talking about your rackets and your strings and your shoes. Well, when I was a player, my coach told me that you need to play with the best strings and the best shoes. Okay. Of course, the racket has to be the best. That suits your game. But a racket is normally the same for a year and a half for each player, at least. Okay, year and a half. So your strings need to be that your tension need to be spot on, and your shoes need to be very good because there's so much impact on your feet that not wearing the right shoes, saving up on shoes is not going to help you in the long run. When you are 35, 40 years old, you start slowly developing back pains and, which will originate back to your age, 12, 13, 15, because you've not been wearing the right footwear at that time. Okay. And also utilize your footwear only as much as you need to. You know what I mean? I mean, don't overuse it. The footwear doesn't scrape only from the bottom of the feet. It also scrapes from inside of the foot. Okay. So be watchful of that. Sometimes you may not be scraping the shoes so much from underneath, from the sole, but it can happen from the inner soles. There's someone called Mohit Saini. He's asking me, what is your reaction when a player comes to you after losing the match? How do you respond to it? So, I mean, I must be the worst coach, let me tell you. Because when someone calls me or they come up to me and they say, or when I've gone for a tournament or I'm watching a match and they lose, or I'm one of the first people to go to the player and say, tough luck, hard luck. And I tell them to cool down and tell them to eat something. And I only start speaking to them after 40 or 45, after 45 minutes or 1 hour. Even if they call me after the match, they are like, sir, I lost. So my question will be, what was the score? He'll be like 6-4, 4-6, 6-2. I was like, okay, what happened? You won the first or the second? And then he'll be like, so just to make sure what the score has been, and I'll be like, okay, I'll call you back. I never get to doing that on an immediate basis. Maybe that's just me, because as a player, I always figure. By the way, I was 565 ATP, my best ranking. Okay, I was top 5, top 3 across all age groups in my junior career. So I've played quite a few tournaments in the country and around the world. Okay, because you guys will be wondering how many matches I have played. When I say when I was playing, So, and I was born and brought up in Mumbai. I played at track tennis and MSLTA all my life. Track tennis is where I started tennis in 1994. That's just on a personal level, I'm telling you guys. And yeah, because as a player, getting back to that, because as a player, I always felt like, when I lose and come out, I have some thoughts which are not structured. And more often than not, I can speak them in anger, or I can speak them because, and I'm not actually analyze the match. I can sometimes say that I got cheated out and neglect the entire trend in the match. Okay. So yes, I believe that the players need to be calm, and only then can, I address them. Otherwise, I don't. Anybody else? Yes, Mr. Ramzan Sheikh, can I have a question from you?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Good, nice. I started very late. Oh no, I was waiting. So everything good. It was good, nice. It was nice. It was good.
No problem. Anybody else asking me any question? Any question is okay. Any question relevant to tennis. Just ask me about tennis, fitness, whatever. It doesn't matter. Which is the best academy in Europe to train in? Okay. Does anyone have that question? Come on, ask me any question. Any question. How much should an amateur player practice daily? Okay, let me tell you, practicing 1 hour a day is the minimum that everybody should do, because in 1 hour you can finish 10 minutes of warm-up hitting, 20 to 30 minutes of hitting, doing volley smashes, and then playing maybe even a best of 7, even if you want to. If you're an amateur or you want to play doubles, then you still need an hour. So 1 hour every day is the minimum. But average of player, an amateur also plays, and they enjoy. They play about 4 times a week, and they play 2 hours when they play. Because in tennis, an hour flies off unless you're playing one-on-one with a coach, so the coach can challenge you, or you're playing one-on-one with a player who's better than you, who you think is better than you. Then yes. You can hit about. So there's a rough calculation. Each one of you should try and understand how many balls in an hour do you actually hit.
Yeah.
Do you hit 250? Do you hit 300, 500? What do you hit? Because if I was hitting with maybe, let me see who, let's say Veer Prasad, maybe we could hit 1,000 or 1,200 in an hour at a given pace. Because I mean there might be better players here, but because I know how Veer plays, I'm saying that's how we could do. Maybe if I was rallying with Ramzan, maybe we could just use 3 balls and make 1,000 rallies. So, if I was playing with Aditya Chaubule, maybe, I was playing a set with him and maybe it goes to 7-6, maybe we would play for 1.5 hours. So it depends. It really depends. But yes, 8 hours a week, let's say, average. Five times or 4 times or 5 times. 8 hours a week is what I would say. Tell me, other questions? Anybody? What is the procedure of playing ITF? Mohit Saini is asking. So you need to first register yourself. You need to be completing 13 years of age. As far as I know, I don't know if this rule has changed in the last few months, but till few months ago, it was you had to complete 13 years of age, 1-3, and on your 13th birthday, you are eligible to play junior ITF. And there's a calculation between your 13th to your 14th birthday. Okay, it's birthday. When I say birthday, the number of tournaments that the ITF allows, it was 6, then it became 8, it became 12. I don't know how many it is right now. It keeps changing year on year, every 2 years. So check the itfjuniors.com. You'll get all the information there. But you need to make your IPIN, like you have your AITA, your ITN card. I think it's ITN, right? What card is it? So the same way, you need to make your IPIN number by signing up online. It's all online. So any other questions? Any of the coaches, they have any questions?
Sir, I had a question.
Go ahead.
So like for the ITF Juniors tournament, how do you get into the qualifying list? Because this year in January, February, I signed up for like 4-5 ITFs, but I did not make it to the qualifying. I was in the alternate zone.
So what happens is your under 18 ranking, AIT ranking, okay? That also makes a little bit of difference when you play internationally. So the AITA every 3 or 4 months sends an updated list to the ITF, and the ITF then, allots 2 players from each country, okay, are allowed to play the quali. So if the qualifying draw is of 64 and if the tournament is happening in, let's say, Dubai, let's say players from 20 different countries are playing, it will first allow 2 players from each country to play. So this rule was there, but again, it's been 2-3 years since I've gone for an ITF. I was traveling the men's future. So all these rules keep changing, but I'm giving an example of a rule. So you need to work on your junior ITF, junior AITF ranking also. That's what the rule says, that the AITF ranking, your local national ranking is going to be of priority for you. Okay. My son is of 6 years. I wanted to know whether it's the right age for him to start. There are players who start at 3 or 4 years of age. Okay, but at 3 or 4 years of age, you need to do once a week of tennis. So, at 6 years of age, if you ask me, tennis needs multifaceted approach. It's one of the toughest sports in the world. And if you notice, why does Federer love football? Why does Nadal love football? Why does Djokovic love soccer? Of course, soccer is rampant in just how we have cricket. They have soccer rampant in Europe. But what happens is, what tennis doesn't teach you is, what a team sport teaches you. Managing your peers and, taking defeat, understanding how to coordinate with different people. So it teaches you different skills. And at 6 years of age, you would also want your child to swim, develop, flexibility and some basic endurance. You want your child to maybe do once a week of toddler gymnastics. I don't know what's the next level of toddler gymnastics. And I'm not talking about professional gymnastics where their height gets curtailed, but once a week of doing some amount of gymnastics. I've heard that also helps in developing your flexibility of your blades, because the more flexible your blades are, the better your service action, your back scratch action. Okay, so this is again, it's different from person to person, but multi-sport is what you need to focus on. Basketball until 12 years of age, and tennis can start with 2 days, go on to 3 days, and by the time, if the child is very good, then by 9-10 years of age they can play 5 days a week. But I would never say play 7 days a week. That's just that's my personal view. Which is the best academy in India? Well, it depends on what you're looking out at. If tennis needs 4 or 5 things: good infrastructure, good practice partners, good coaches, strategic location where the weather is good, and it doesn't rain 9 months a year, because if you don't have indoor courts, then you have a problem. Good weather. Okay, so it needs these aspects. Now, many players in India are choosing for residential options also, especially from the bigger cities. They are, especially from North India. You see players going to Harvest, or you see them going to Altiwall. You see them going to the sports school, on Bopanna. Many players come to me as well. We have a residential program. So many of the coaches do have that, but it all depends on what you are looking at. And the academy, any academy, even the best in the world, the players come and they go. Okay, so it's the system that remains, and it's a very, very personal question for me. I mean, I don't know why where you are training right now wouldn't be one of the best. That's what I would say, because all the coaches work very hard, and they try to give the best, and it all depends on your as an individual, what you're looking out for. So I mean, I would not say that the academy I run or ACTA or any other academy is not good enough at this point. The best always fluctuates, just like the rankings. Anybody else? Any question? Any of you here competing, at a junior ITF level right now? Is there anyone who competes at a junior ITF level? Sachi, do you? Veer, do you? Is there anyone else on the list who competes? Not yet. Okay. Anything else you guys want to ask, or relevant to what? Okay. Why is India not able to produce players which may rank in top 100? So India is producing the players, but let me tell you that the path that every player follows to be top 100 is very different. Like, let me give an example of France, or let me give an example of Switzerland. Federer and Wawrinka both ended up winning Grand Slams. Federer and Wawrinka, albeit at different age. Wawrinka won his first slam when he was 29, I think. Okay, Federer and Wawrinka both are from Switzerland, but they both followed very different paths, training paths. They followed different academies, worked with different coaches. Okay, and they made it to their best. So why India is not able to produce? It's a very, very tricky question today. It's like there's not enough answer for that. Maybe there are not enough people playing tennis in India today. Maybe there's not enough. They're not spending enough time at the right age. Maybe they're not traveling as much, and because of that. So it's not just you can't say that Indian level is bad. When the level improves, when people spend more time doing something. So if we have more players playing more and more tournaments, automatically the level will improve. And if we have 200 entries every tournament, even the tournament breaks even, and we'll have more tournaments, which is reducing on an everyday basis. So yes, this kind of question, again, there's no hard and fast answer why India is not able to produce regular players in the top. Anything else, guys? Anything technically, tactically that you want to know? Anything about certain players you want to know? Where do you guys practice? All of you practice at with Aditya sir at ACTA? All of you guys are ACTA players? Okay, that's great. No? Is there someone non-ACTA also here? No? Okay. Anything else, guys? Any other questions? There's some other question. Why are tournaments like TS, CSSS majorly located in North India? There's no system of who will hold more tournaments. That's why. And there's some of these guys I've heard that they have funding from the government and they're able to, conduct more tournaments. So that's why it's, they are able to conduct back-to-back tournaments in Karnal or Jalandhar or many of these places, which is actually very good for them because they have a lot more ranked players. So I mean, I cannot give that answer. Why, basically? Nowadays, a lot of tennis players leaving the tennis according to ITF. What's your opinion? It's true. More and more players are not playing tennis, and the ITF is trying to increase the number of tournaments. But I still feel that in India, the number of players are slowly growing. It's just that it's become very widespread now. Cities have grown, so you don't find concentration of players in one academy. You do not find 150 players in one center because every center has a qualified coach, so players are distributed. But yes, exiting players, exiting early, people have realized that if they don't have the level by the time they're 16, 17, okay, they have realized that if the child is not as hardworking or if the player himself doesn't feel motivated to go through the grind, then yes, it's better to choose a different path. And everybody has started knowing that, which is why the number of players have been dropping out. The dropout rate has increased a lot. Even though the drop-in rate, the number of people playing tennis is time and again it keeps increasing depending on country to country or area to area.
Sir, Dion sir messaged me that he had to leave the meeting. He had to some other family thing.
No problem.
So
No problem.
if you wanted to end the meeting, you can end it.
Yeah.
Whenever you want to.
Perfect. Is there any other question or we are good doing this? Fine. Okay. Thank you so much, you guys, for
Thank
being
you,
part
sir.
of it.
Thank you,
Yeah,
sir.
this was good, and all the best to you guys. Believe in your coaches. Okay. So you guys are training at a very good center. In fact, I've had the privilege of working with Aditya also. He's a very nice person, always positive. So make sure that you guys are putting in your best and doing your best every day. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Take care, and I'm always available whenever if you need any more answers. Okay.
Thank you,
sir.
Take care. See you. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.